G'day, I'm Mike. I'm a storyteller and telling the story by writing. I have an entire world which I built. I have somewhere between 8 and 15 story ideas, novels, set in the 80,000 years of that world's history. This is video number 4. We're still looking into Changsha. We have gone from him being in the stone tomb back a year or so maybe, to when we first met him and when I first imagined him. And in the last video, I had simply presented this sentence that I have in highlighted. The warriors wanted attention. They had a point to make. They dragged the remaining 4 guards with them to a clearing beside the road where it meandered through the gardens. They could see the top of the fortress from this point. They judged it close enough for purpose. That's all I'd written. Now, I commented in the last video that this was bare bones writing. This was just writing so that I could get the idea, the skeleton present. But much more detail was needed for someone to read it without me there to do all this stuff that a storyteller does. So this is what I have done with that one sentence that was just highlighted. I've turned that into this, which I might consider a second draft. The clearing swelled out from one side of the stone road, a long oval shape with the road cutting across 1/3 from one end. Except for the road edge, the clearing was ringed by massively thick old trees. Trees with bark that seemed to be all shadow and slivers of darkness. Changsha considered the tallest of these dark-needled trees and wondered how old they must be. He had rarely seen trees so large in the forests of the plains below. The trees at one point of the clearing's edge were noticeably lower and less densely spaced. That was the direction they could see the top edge of the cursed palace. He wondered why there was less growth in that one part. Much later, he would imagine the clearing had once, long ago, been designed to give a view of the palace. It never occurred to Changsha that someone in the palace might have wanted to see into the clearing in the days of that terrible and long-faded empire. At the base of those disquieting trees, along the shaded edges of the clearing, the ground was thick with moss and low grass. Moving from that tree line out towards the centre of the clearing, the ground cover turned entirely to grasses, as if there was not enough soil, even for low shrubs, to get a purchase in it. The 4 Golsakso stood in the centre of the clearing, each facing outwards. At their backs was the pile of butchered guards. The warriors had a point to make. They gave the dead no respect. The 4 waited. They waited for the opportunity to kill someone important. They waited to finish making their point. Now, reading that out aloud immediately makes it clear that second draft, more detail, more complex sentences, more difficulties of being clear, more weird syntax loopbacks that need to be corrected. However, I hope you, as a listener or reader, that made a much clearer picture of the setting of this moment. Now, I don't have a really good movie screen in my head. I tend to see words in my head rather than pictures. I see some images, but not in much detail. Not the kind of thing that would help me write this. I kind of have to remember trees I've seen and describe them, or at least start there to come up with the tree I want. I need to think of the edges of clearings in forests that I've seen and what's at the base of the trees in the shade. And then I just use that as the beginning point. Now, I've read authors that I tended to skip over long chunks of what they wrote. That's about me, not that they were writing badly, but clearly they could see every detail. Their character would walk down a corridor in a palace that they were never going to walk down again. It was not a particularly important corridor, just a corridor they're walking down to get from one scene to the next. And the author is describing the colour, the texture, the shape, and the patterns of the carvings in the wall. Every corridor they walk down, every wall is described in great detail. I cannot imagine doing that. I can't imagine imagining that much detail. But some people clearly, that textural stuff rows their boat, and that's fine. And I'm sure there are many readers who, when they read that level of detail for every surface and everything in the world, that it helps them make the picture. Okay, well, I don't do that. I don't see the world that way. That's not what goes on in here. I tend to go the other direction. I'm about distilling stuff and only remembering the distillation. It's good for oral storytelling, but it doesn't work for writing, at least. I wonder what Hemingway would say about that. He might disagree with me. And probably he would be right. Only I'm not writing Hemingway, I'm writing Michael, so he would be wrong. Okay. So I would be interested in the comments if that helps that paragraph there, if that helps make a picture in your head as you read it. Or what bits of it were confusing. Because I can imagine bits of it being confusing. Because I know what that setting is. And I'm not trying to make a picture out of it, so might be different for you. Okay, that's enough for this one. I'm Michael, I'm writing. I hope you're reading, and I hope you're enjoying all of this. Take care.